Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Something feels off. What feels off? I've just figured it out. The lights aren't right. 10 seconds. There we go. I left a light on. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday night, and it's time for another live stream. Why does it look dark? It looks dark now. Sorry, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, hope everyone is well. Good evening to everyone in the chat. Hello, James. Hello, Bruce. Hello, Bonafide Pirate. How are you? Cool Cat, 13 FPV. Tonight, we're going to try and clear up some confusion over the FCC stroke ham file hack for the O3. Because even I've been confused and it's caused me absolute havoc. We're going to talk a bit about the news that's happened this week as well with regard to the HDZero goggles starting to land in people's hands. We have an update for the Avatar HD system. Yes, there is a product not from DJI that we're going to talk about. I know there's been a lot of content on the DJI, but there's been a lot to talk about. And we'll talk about some other stuff that's gone on this week as well. Now, I hope everyone is safe and well. Let me just go to the clear. Hello. I have myself some little treats. My daughter this week won a massive box of chocolate. And I mean huge box of chocolate. And this is some of it. So I'm going to be wiping through that today as well. Didn't know these existed. White and dark chocolate fingers. Oh my God. They are lovely. Now, I don't know what you guys have been up to this week. For me, it's been an interesting week, actually, because I've done the gimbal update on the Mambo. Let me just reach over. The gimbals finally arrived. It was quite funny, actually, because I was whinging that I deleted the emails. TBS's website don't seem to have a customer area where you can go and find your orders, and I was wondering where they were, and I just put a post on my Discord saying, yeah, mine still haven't turned up, and literally 30 minutes later they had arrived, and they have. So we have the new gimbals in the Mambo. Where is it? I have a video coming on it this week. There we go. We've put the pros in, but these are the V2s, and I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts on these in that video as well. I also have a second set, and if anyone is after a set of standard V2 gimbals in the UK, let me know. I'll do you a deal, because I ordered the Pro, which I've put in here, and the non-Pro. Now, I'll be honest, there's not a great deal of difference. They are installed. The non-Pro V2s haven't been installed. They're brand new. I just used them for the video. These are the Pro V2s. Let me find the overhead. There we go. These are the Pro V2s. And I also ordered their lube as well, their sensation and intimacy. I know there are CNC ones coming. I know I had already ordered these at the time. But these are the V2s. I think they're very, very nice. You got the folding sticks as well. Overall, looking good. And I will share my main thoughts in the main video. But, Warren, yeah, I'll say this, okay? And I do say this in the video. I would not strictly upgrade to the V2 gimbals if there's nothing wrong with your gimbals. What I would say is I would upgrade to the V2s if you want the Pros or yours are wearing. What I will say is I don't think there is enough of a difference in the V2s to warrant just upgrading for $30, because they're $15 each on the standards. They're better, but it's not like the Mambo gimbals were terrible in the first place, if that makes sense. And that's the point I'm trying to make. But if yours are wearing and you want to change them, then it's a good idea. What is really hard for me to quantify is how much the nicer feel is as a result of the TBS lube and the refitment and the new gimbals and the actual tolerance changes. But what I would say is going to the folding gimbal is definitely a nice upgrade, and you're going to go for the V2 anyway at that point. But they're done. I don't know if I'm going to order. I probably won't order the CNCs now, and there is a very good reason why I won't order the CNCs, and it's not because I don't want to try them, because I do. The Mambo, I'm going to say it again, is pretty much my favorite radio. And it is not because it is TBS. It is not because it has Tracer. It is not because it's running Freedom TX. It is literally the shape and size that makes this my perfect radio. The weight, the battery, it's the right balance of everything. Now, there are a number of downsides to this radio. Limited to 250 hertz. That doesn't massively bother me, but it will some people. Freedom TX versus Edge TX, I'm not really concerned, I'll be honest. It's fine. But overall, it is, for my size of hand, the screen's the right size. It uses 18650s. It's got okay battery life. It's got all the switches and functions. It is the right mix. And today, this is my favorite radio. However, I'm going to lean on the word today, and I cannot say any more than that. And that is why I'm probably not going to be investing in $100 and odd worth of gimbals for the radio that still does have some compromises. But we'll talk about that more in the future. That's all I'm going to say, because I'll get myself in trouble. Moving on. What I will say is this. If you're someone who has been considering the Mambo because of the reasons I've just stated, hang back. So, the other things that's gone on this week is I've built this. I spent a day and a half building a plane. I found this in a box. Now, I've got to apologize to Ben at 3DXR. Ben is amazing, right? And he sends me stuff, and I'm working through the stuff he sent me. And he sent me a load of Cube Pilot stuff, which I'm working through. This is the T1 Ranger. This is the T1 Ranger. And Ben had sent me a bunch of stuff, which I got content coming, and I'd missed, because there was a bunch of stuff in the box, and I missed that this was in the bottom. I hadn't actually looked, and it's quite a big box as well, but because there was like so much stuff in there, I was rooting around, and I'd looked and thought, oh yeah, that's interesting, I need to have a look at that, and I'd forgotten. And I went back and looked at it and went, bloody hell, it's a T1 Ranger. So I built this up yesterday and today. It's pretty much done. It's done, basically. It's running iNav. I put in a new flight controller, a complete build from scratch. Let me just go to the overhead. Let me just show you what I've done in here. I'm using a Holybro H7 Mini is what we've crammed in. Holybro sent me some flight controllers to look at this week as well. I'll be showing them on the channel. I really like... H7 is tight, but the H7 Mini... it's a bit of a mess in there, but yeah, it's all done. And I've got a Vista in the front at the moment. There's a reason I got a Vista in the front. I'll probably put O3 in later. Not going to put O3 in today, but I created this bracket for the front because I couldn't find one I was happy with, so I put one in there. And yeah, H7 Mini down in there. They have this PDB, which is included as well. So I didn't bother with a flight controller with a built-in BEX. There's already a BEC included. So yeah, Express ELRS in the back. Will I do the VTOL conversion? Right. Interesting. he also sent me the VTOL conversion as well, which I hadn't actually seen in the bag. So probably, yes, I will do the VTOL conversion on it. I've got it already. It's here ready to go. So, yeah, I probably will do the VTOL conversion, although I'm going to have to make some other changes. So it's been a long time since I've flown a plane. It's been quite a long time, actually. I never got the bigger wing in the air this year, unfortunately. But yeah, so the VTOL kit I even have. Haven't really looked at what's included in it. Some extra motors, ESCs, overhead. So there's motors in there. Yeah, so he sent me that over too, which was very, very kind of him. I just got to apologise that I missed it in the bottom. I didn't miss it. I went through the box and I saw it all and I was like, oh, that's cool. I need to look at that. Completely forgot. So there she is. She's ready to maiden. It's literally finished. There's no GPS on it at the moment. I need to order some GPS modules. I'm running low on GPS modules. But it's going to maiden this week. I'm running iNav 5. It's been a while since I've used iNav. But yeah, lovely little plane to put together. It really is. And the tail section comes off. Really just... I like planes of this size. This is the perfect size for me. It's just easy to hold. Yeah, and that back... You can take the back spar off as well. You can just remove that if you want to, the tail section. There's no rudder on this. So you can use differential thrust if you want to use a rudder. But yeah. Overall, looking good. So that's ready to maiden this week. It's just a nice small plane. Magnets hold the wings on. No, plastic clips. So if you don't know on that, it's got full removable wings because there's connections. So if I just show you, I'm not going to pull it because I don't want to break them. But there's little clips on the inside. 2 seconds. Let me just pop one. There we go. Pop the back one as well. There we go. And on the edge of the wing, and if I just go to the overhead, there you go, you can see that there's just like pushing connectors. So the wings just come off. Literally pushing connectors that go into the side, into there, and there's just plastic clips that hold it. They're like edge connectors, so you can just take the wings off like that. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Now, obviously, Mr. Varty is our long-range king, but I wanted to have something I could just put a bit more in. Just so simple. Just so simple. The only thing... This was the kit. The only thing I will say is the wiring setup's a bit quirky when they send it to you. It sort of makes sense if you're going to toss a receiver in it. But, yeah, really nice little wing. I'll do a video on the VTOL. It'll be super cool. Yeah, definitely cool bit of kit. So that's that. I've done that this week. So I've done the gimbals on the Mambo. Done that this week. That's built and ready to rock and roll. I've been working. I got a before we get into some of the stuff to talk about, there's been a bunch of stuff sent over to me, obviously by Ben at 3DXR. We've got the new Hearlink, the version 1.1 to talk about. I'm just waiting on some bits before I can talk about that because we've got the Ethernet support now, so you got an Ethernet bridge built into it as well, brighter screen, things like that. And I've also had a bunch of stuff sent over to me from Holy Bro as well. And actually, I will say this, they sent me some of their bigger stuff, but they sent over some of their smaller flight controllers. And I'll be honest, they're really nice. The H7 Mini, which I've put in that, and you've got a H7 version 2, which is up here. There's a video coming out in a couple of days. Where is it? I'm keeping it for a build, I am. Yeah, H7 version 2. Really nice little flight controller, I have to say. The build quality is outstanding on it. And I tell you something I've noticed. I haven't seen anyone else doing this. Let me just zoom in. They're using underfill on the H7. So they've obviously got a BGA, one of the more BGA packages for the H7 SoC. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's underfill, which is... look, it's going to help with structural integrity. Yeah, I am. So really interesting to see. But yeah, H7 version 2 this is. They've gone for the 270 gyro now and a couple of other things. The only thing I will say with this is sort of pre-O3. At 9 volts, the BEC can only do 1.5 amps. So if you're going to run O3 on this, don't run it off the BEC. Run it directly off battery voltage. Yes, Wes, I'm going to have to do Ardra Pilot. Correct. Yes, it does have an ear unit plug. Yeah, it does. The only downside is, again, you're going to need to run that on the battery, not the back. That's the thing. And actually, this leads me into the first subject quite nicely. So this week, the first thing I'll talk about is that O3 and the power usage. I had to put out an updated video. Now, the original video was released based on my bench testing, which was done after my FCC video. So to explain the timelines here, because there is some quirks to understand, okay, I released the FCC video, which I made here on the bench, 100% working with the ham file hack, no issues at all. In that FCC video, let me just find it so I can show it to you. On YouTube. Actually, I might be quicker just finding it on my files, actually. Let me do it this way. I'm just trying to find them by date. There we go. Where is it? O3 teardown, O3 FCC hack. I couldn't find it. Okay, so I made this video which I show you the FCC behavior of the O3 ear unit. Now, this was made with an O3 ear unit. Let me just skip through it. Let me just find it. So here we go. This was the O3 carrier in CE mode. Notice here, from that is in standby mode. Now, what I mean by standby mode is not armed, not in low power mode. Sorry, not armed in low power mode. Okay, very important. Not armed, but in low power mode. Then let me just wait for it to kick. You'll see the carrier get darker in a second. We'll just wait for it a second. There we go. That is me arming the aircraft. Low power mode was still turned on, but arming the aircraft kicks it out of low power mode into full power. That was before the ham file hack. We then went away and did the same tests after the hack. Low power mode before arming. Wait for it to arm. 2 seconds. Boom. Massive amounts more power. Okay? Just look. That line there is where the original power level was at. Hugely more. All fine. All good. Everyone's happy. Until I started doing more bench testing and couldn't get it to do it again after I released the video, and started to find that I was stuck in FCE or FCC, whatever it was, and I'll come on to that in a minute, but power mode. All of my testing was preventing it going to the higher output. And actually, it turns out that the O3 ear unit works differently to the Vista and the DJI ear unit. On the DJI ear unit, it would go to full power output, whatever that is, so whatever the wattage you've set, or with hacks, it will go to when you arm the aircraft, or you turn off low power mode. It would go to the same level depending on which one you did. It didn't matter. Turn off low power mode. If you had it set to 1200, it would go to 1200. Arm the aircraft in low power mode. It turns off low power mode and goes to 1200. It is the same. Low power mode and arming, turn low power mode off, was the same as arming. However, in O3, that isn't the case. Low power mode in O3 is more related to the video performance than it is RF power. And what I mean by that is when low power mode is turned on, it is pumping far less frames, far less resolution through the link. Turning low power mode off kicks the resolution up to the full amount and all of that. However, it doesn't necessarily kick it into full RF output. And when I was doing my second set of bench testing, I wasn't actually arming. I was simply turning off low power mode, assuming it was exactly the same as the Vista and the DJI Air unit, and it isn't. Now, Bruce has said, is it adaptive power? Not in my tests. I have done extensive testing, and I have not at any point seen the Air unit increase its power output when low power mode is turned off up to the level it should go to. It doesn't move. And I have tested this by moving the goggles a massive distance away and forcing them basically into signal loss. Yes, I know the DJI guy has said the power is dynamic, and I'm not saying he isn't right, but I'll come on to that in a minute because you've got to understand the level differences here between power outputs. Dynamic could be 200 watts, not the difference between CE at 25 milliwatts and FCC at, say, 700 milliwatts. It is definitely not shifting that much. I can guarantee it. It may be shifting very small amounts, which is hard to detect in my testing, but what it isn't doing is doing huge jumps. So I was having huge amounts of issues, and then I discovered that issue, and I've put a video together just to show you guys this before I move on to the next one. So this is showing you the behavior, okay? So this is the O3, no ham file, no ham, so it would be stock for me, CE, low power mode on, okay? If we then watch the carrier, all I have done now is turned off low power mode. Note, I'll just go back, none of these carriers have increased in height. All that has happened is more data has moved through the link. When you look here, it's a much, the reason the carrier isn't as dark is because there's much less data moving through. Yes, there's less power, but much less data. The overall carrier peak power is the same, but there's just much less of it. Also notice the other carriers here, which is the goggle carriers, are hovering a little bit higher, about minus 50 dBm, and nothing's changing. Again, when I arm, the carrier goes darker, but the overall RF output has not increased. It is basically still at the lower level, okay? And this was what was confusing me, because my initial test, I was doing it with a quad that was ready to fly. Now, we will add the ham file and show you the same thing again, okay? So ham file, first of all, first thing to note is this. Whereas I said the goggles carriers before were roughly minus 50 dBm here, they are now massively up towards minus 30 dBm. So the goggles has increased output at this point, okay? But if we look at the carrier for the aircraft, it has not. And when I've turned off low power mode, again, it is outputting exactly the same amount of power as it was before. However, the goggle carriers have increased. It is only when I arm the aircraft, do you see that massive increase in power? Okay, so I'll go there, ready, boom. It is only at the point of arming does the O3 push to maximum output. Now, this is different behavior to the FPV Air unit and the Vista. I've gone back and double checked. It is not the same behavior. Now, what this means is the Air unit only goes to maximum RF when it receives an MSP arming command, regardless of the status of low power in the goggles. But it means if you're someone that is flying without a flight controller and you're turning off low power mode, you are not getting the maximum output that is available from the system. Again, I have done all the testing, and at no point have I seen any dynamic behavior with regards to this from this system. Okay? Can you use the O3 without an FCC? I know you could, Bruce, but you're not going to get the full maximum power output. So you're going to have to put a flight controller in for arming purposes. How many people are going to try and do it without one, I don't know. But it's just worth noting, especially if you're using it on a car or a boat or something like that. Okay, so I've seen no dynamic power as a result of this. Okay, it's just that simple. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some smaller movements, and I'll show why that's the case in a minute. Okay? But this is what caught me out. So the ham file works, but you've got to have an arming command for it. Now, this leads on to the next set of questions of, now we know the ham file works, is it the same level of RF power as FCC mode? I've called the ham file FCC mode, but it wasn't clear if it was or not. And I've actually finally been able to do some testing on this. And whilst I'm not going to tell you it's exactly the same power, what I am going to be able to tell you is it is very close. I don't believe it is anymore myself. I want to do a bit more testing, but what it certainly isn't is a dramatic amount more than FCC mode. And I'm going to show you that now. So if I just pause that a second and go back to the desktop. Okay. No, that's the wrong video. That's the first one I showed you. Okay, so this is a setup at a fixed distance, okay? Nothing moves. The only thing that changes is the status. We start in CE mode, we move to FCC mode, and then we move to the ham file, okay? So this is CE mode output. Now, this isn't directly in front of it on the bench. This is at a distance, okay, to be able to properly show this. Video carrier over here, goggles carriers over here. Note the video carrier is about minus 76 dBm. Goggles carriers peaking at about minus 45, on average minus 50, somewhere on that area there. Okay, so what you're seeing here, just let me play it again, is disarmed, armed when it goes darker. I'm not using low power mode here, we're using arming. So armed, disarmed, same power output, CE, nice and simple. You can see a little fluctuation. Don't worry about that. It's just because of the way I'm testing this. But overall, you can see that's where we're at with CE. Okay? Now we are in proper FCC mode. Okay? Not ham file. This is actually FCC mode. And what you're going to see here is the FCC mode kick in because I found a way of triggering it. Okay? So at the moment, what you're seeing on the display is actually CE. And then I'm going to stop it at the point. If you watch the goggle carriers, you'll see them jump up when we hit FCC mode. It's just changed channel because I've rebooted it. Boom. Did you see that point there? That was the point it entered FCC mode. This isn't ham file. This is FCC. I'll just play that back again. 1 second. I triggered FCC mode. Boom. Goggles carriers increased dramatically. Okay, I'm just going to put the mouse there. That's where it was before, minus 50, and then we're up back to that minus 30. Okay, as we're disarmed, you can still see the video carrier is at that same very low level. If I now arm, you will see the video carrier increase to a higher level than we were getting in CE. This line is CE. There you go. You can now see in FCC, the video carrier is more up to peaking at about minus 65 dBm, minus 60 to 65. Ignore the slope. It's just the way I'm reading it. But there, so we're seeing CE level, where we saw the carrier didn't increase in output from here. FCC up to here. Okay, so FCC, a clear increase in power. Now, the real question is the ham file any more power than FCC. That is the interesting point. So what I've redone is we moved the line about minus 67 dB was roughly where FCC was, that area there. We're now under the ham file. What I will say is the goggle carriers have not increased, no change. And actually, the RF output hasn't really changed either. It appears to be basically the same. So at this moment in time, as I understand it, and in my testing, and I'll explain what's just happened there in a second, the ham file appears to be the same output as FCC. I'm not convinced it's really any more at this moment in time. What you've just seen there, if I just show there, this is in auto mode. So the goggles carriers are next to the video carrier. But I switch it into manual mode just to see if there's any difference. And what you'll see in manual mode... Sorry, let me just go back to there. What you'll see in manual mode in a minute is the goggle carriers move on top of the video carrier. And that happens. When you go into manual mode on O3, it shifts, there you go, look, it shifts the goggle carriers onto the same carrier as the video carrier to save space on the band. So actually, if you're running around other people, you're probably better in manual mode in some ways, because it moves the goggle carriers on top. So again, when you're in auto... Let me go back to auto. The goggle carriers are next to it, and then they shift on top in manual mode. Interesting behavior. I'll talk about that a bit more later. So, at this moment in time, I don't believe ham file is any more power than FCC. Maybe, but I have spotted something, and I need to investigate more, and I'm going to show you it. And I want to show you this again. So, just note, when we arm with the ham file, right? Let me just get back to it. Right. When we arm with the ham file, just watch. It's gone up to full power. Look at the areas around the carrier, right? There's a bit of increase either side there and there, but nothing spectacular. I'm just going to play back again, but just watch the carrier for changes. Up. And it remains the same. It doesn't change. Nothing changes on this carrier. When it moves up, it just goes up, boom, and it stays that way. Nothing changes on it. However, watch this. Let me find the FCC carrier. Watch FCC, right? I spotted this. Ready? Watch the video carrier and really look around it and watch the height of it a little bit as well. Did you see that then? It went up and then dropped back down. Now, in my checks, the drop down level actually looks the same as the ham level. However, it does appear to be the case that in FCC mode, it's actually pulsing to a higher level and then dropping down. I'll just show you it again. There you go. So we'll play it up, and then down. Less than a second, but it's doing it. Now, this leads me to think there's more power on the table that DJI haven't given us here. And we're going to have to wait and see and find out. Now, I'm just going to answer one more thing again, because I've said it already. I have done a dramatic amount of testing on, is there any change in RF output with regards to range? And I can tell you now, with regards to the quad, I am seeing nothing. I know the DJI guy has said it's dynamic, and I'm not saying it's not. And that little bit you've just seen may be the hint of something dynamic that we haven't been able to figure out yet. But I have taken the goggles to the edge of range, down to 1 megabits, and then dropping it off. I've got a stone house. I can literally put the quad here on my bench, right next to my analyzer, walk off with the goggles and the remote, and measure the RF output from the quad in a static situation. If it's increasing, I will see it on that analyzer, and I'm not. So I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Right, I just want to catch up on some super chats because they've been related to this. I'm going to start with Fur Rollies. Thank you for the $2.49. What should I do for O3 in the EU to get max power? The ham file. That simple. Use the ham file. It's that simple. Okay. Use the ham file. That will get you maximum output as far as we know today. There may be more on the table, but that is as far as we know. Okay. There was 2 other super chats. I just want to say a big thank you to Dyslexic Frog, £5. If you register the ear unit in a different region on holiday, will it go to their region or UK? Right. My understanding is the O3 ear unit takes its region settings based on the Fly app and not necessarily the app at point of activation. It's a combination of the two. The chances are if you activate it in the US and you move it to the UK and collect it to the Fly app, it'll go into CE. Just use the ham file. There's nothing to worry about. Put the ham file in, it'll be fine. These Skies mine FPV. These guys are mine. Thank you for the £20 super chat. That's incredible, my friend. If you've got a question, I don't think there is, but thank you for that. So that is the situation, and that is why I ended up having to remake the power output video, because in my original power test, sorry, not power output, the power consumption video, because in my original power consumption I was using low power mode as the trigger to push it in full power, and it wasn't, and as a result that ear unit is pulling in excess of 1.8 amps at times, which is 15 watts. She gets toasty. She really does. So to summarize all of this up, O3 ham file absolutely works. In my opinion, it triggers to about the same power level as FCC. If you are in FCC, there is still a benefit to using the ham file because it will give you more channels available. In FCC, you don't get any more channels than you do in CE. You still only have 1 channel in 40 megabits a second or 3 channels in 10 and 20 megabits a second. Using the ham file will open that up to 3 channels in 40 and 7 channels in 10 and 20. What I don't think it's going to do, though, is give you any additional power. However, I would still do it. Overall, the ham file works, but again, it will only enter maximum RF output when you've triggered the arming command via MSP. At no point have I seen it remotely go up to full power with the low power mode. And it's interesting, and it's completely different behavior for low power mode. The low power mode on the O3 ear unit is more about image quality and data rate, whereas the low power mode on the original FPV system was RF power. And it's that simple. And that is the situation. It really is that simple. The ham file also works on both the O3 ear unit with the V2 goggles and the Goggle 2 as well. It's exactly the same. And the behavior is identical on the Avatar, but I wouldn't have known about that because there's no way on the Avatar that I would have used it without arming. It's exactly the same on the Avatar as well. So, ham file the same beyond FCC on Avatar. I haven't done beyond FCC on the Avatar, but they're probably all the same. Now, this pretty much wraps up all of my testing on the ham file. I know where everything's at now. The next challenge is going to be the testing on the Vista and the DJI O3, the DJI Ear unit on the goggles too. When that compatibility gets out fully, I have been testing it because I do have that beta firmware. However, I'm not comfortable doing too much testing. What I want to do is test it when it hits public release. What I do know is, whilst I originally said the NACO file didn't work, it actually does. I think that was a mistake on my side, or at least my ear unit wasn't playing ball. I have now confirmed that the NACO file does still work on the O3, on the normal air unit with the goggles too. The problem is, though, we don't know what the RF power level is because there's still no way of setting the power level on the goggles too, even when using the Vista. What is interesting in that pre-release firmware is the ham file increases the RF output of the air unit, but not the goggles, and the NACO file on the air unit increases the power output of the air unit, but not the goggles, and the ham file increases the power output of the goggles and gives you more channels. So it's looking like, and this isn't confirmed 100% yet, that when DJI bring out support on the goggles too, you're going to put NACO on the air unit, not the O3 one, the Vista or DJI FPV air unit, and then put the ham file on the goggles. You're probably going to have to do both. SD on the goggles too. Yeah, correct. It's looking like you've got to do both. What I'm not seeing is a 1200 watt mode. There's no 1200 milliwatt mode, doesn't seem to work. And what I don't know yet is what that RF power level is. I'm going to have to do a lot of testing to understand where we end up on that. You know, we only really knew... Yeah, I can't... Comparing RF power is complex, far rowies. There is such a subtle difference between 700 milliwatts and 1200 milliwatts on a spectrum analyzer. Yes, I can see it, but it could be the difference between 1000 and 1200 and 900. It's not an exact science, and that's the bit I'm struggling with at the moment. So it's not. I can tell, especially when you step through them, and you have to understand, really, the only reason we believe DJI system is at 1200 milliwatts because it says so. That's the only real reason we know. We haven't measured it. So that's the situation. Someone's hating. Clifffield was mine. I was doing beyond, just catching up on the chat a minute. So if there's any questions on that, let me know. I hope that puts all of that O3 stuff to bed. Mike Bergen, is Dobo a shill? I know it seems that way, but Ken's a good guy. Okay, Ken is a... Look, me and Ken have had three relationships. We've had the relationship before. We had the relationship where he sort of fell out with me and didn't like a few things I'd done, and he got the wrong end of a stick. And we have a fantastic relationship now. Ken is a good guy. I absolutely do like him. Okay, he can be a bit extreme at times. You're a bit mad, Ken. But I think he's a fantastic guy. We have plenty of messages back and forth. I genuinely do think he's a great guy. He's one of a few people I message a bit back and forth in the back end of FPV. I'll be honest, there are a few people I talk to all the time in the back end, and Ken is one of them. He's a lovely guy. He is a lovely guy. Ken Dobo. He is genuinely a lovely guy. Yeah, bro, man. He's just like that bloke in Australia or New Zealand or wherever he is. There's a few good people. I can have a mini... Oh, they're disappointing. Look at the size of that. Ken is a very good guy. Everyone can make up their own minds. I will never tell anyone to make, you know, they should or shouldn't like anyone. As far as I'm concerned, he's a bloody good guy. What's funny at times is there has been two occasions, right? Two occasions with Ken and one with JB that we have made content exactly the same time as each other, published within a very short period, being completely contradictory. And it's easy to look at that sometimes and think, oh, he's made that video just to go against me. And the reality isn't that. It is incredible at times. And the reality is we all hear the same things in the background. Not Ken Heron, Ken Dobo. You all hear things in the background at times and you think, oh, I'll go and test that. And genuinely, with the Avatar thing, right? I'd heard something from some people. I'd been sent some videos. Ken had heard some stuff. We both went out literally within an hour of each other, made content and published it within an hour of each other, completely contradicting each other. And it's easy sometimes to look at that and go, well, he's only done that. And I came second, by the way, and my video went out second because I was a bit later editing. I'd filmed it earlier, but I filmed it later. And it's just one of those things. It's happened to Bardwell as well. Me and JB. JB put his video out saying the new firmware for Avatar was great. I put a video out saying it was a complete crap show. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. These things happen. But no, Ken Dober's a good guy. Ken Heron, I went on Ken's show once. Nothing. I got no issues with Ken. Is he? Look, as a comment, is he really a real FPV pilot? Am I really an FPV pilot? Is Bardwell really what is an FPV pilot? You tell me what an FPV pilot is. Anyone who picks up a quad, puts on a set of goggles is an FPV pilot. I don't give a toss if they're the best bando pilot in the world. I don't care if they're the worst. Someone who picks up a set of goggles and flies is an FPV pilot. End of. Let's cut the bullshit. Hey, Ken, there you are. It's crazy, isn't it, mate? It's crazy, 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 crazy. It's that simple. Let's not talk about who's a good pilot. There are many times where I am shocking. I'll be honest. I'm not great at the moment. I haven't been flying much. I've been testing too much, not flying. There's a big difference between testing and flying. Testing is very methodic. He's my FPV Gerald Undone. I'm going to dress in purple from now on. And I'm going to review a banana. Look, I'm really lucky that there are some amazing people in the background in FPV I get to talk to. Bruce, Sean, Ken, genuinely, Chris Rosser. I have a few messages with JB now and again. JB's not someone I message a lot. We have the odd thing back and forth. It's business more than pleasure. But there are some people I just talk to in the background, and I'm privileged to be able to do that. And they're all great guys. They're just all great guys. So, making you a shirt. You know, I really do. And look, we're all in FPV. We're all in FPV. It doesn't matter if you're the best, the worst. As I said, there are times where I am shocked. I'm not the greatest pilot in the world. I'll be honest, the problem I have these days is I don't have enough time to fly. The channel takes over too much time. That's the reality of it. I get good at periods, I get bad at periods. I'm not a bando pilot. I'm not bot grinder. You know, the guy's a legend. Could I be? Yes. Look, everything is really simple, right? There is raw skill, and then there's practice. Nothing is inachievable. 10,000 hours makes someone what they class a master craftsman. That's it. Everything's practice. It is that simple. Everything is practice. You can't say someone's a crap pilot. Everyone has... The more time, the more crashing, the more experience, the better you'll be. It is that simple. It really is that simple. You know, some people fly a lot, some people fly little, some people just fly out and about, some people fly in other ways. I fly because I enjoy flying. It's that simple. You know, it really is. Anyway, so that's the O3 stuff. Ended off. Hopefully that ends that. Someone did ask earlier a couple of things. So, and I'll just touch on this a little bit. So this update for the Goggles 2 brings in support for the Vista, but it isn't the same as it was in the past. It's sort of more that DJI have upgraded the Vista to the new O3 sort of software than made the Goggles 2 work with the Vista. As a result of that, it looks and feels like the O3 system. You're not entering a backwards compatibility mode, really. It just looks like the new system. It now has 7 channels instead of the 8. It has all of the same limitations, no power options. They did add, though, pardon me, they did add the option for changing bitrate. High and low bitrate modes, you know what I mean? But it looks the same. Now, as a result of this, once you updated the Vista, it wouldn't bind to the Goggles version 2 or the Goggles V1. In my tests, I wasn't able to get any of the remotes to bind. However, if I am a betting man and I am going to put money on it, I will bet that the Goggles 2 the remote version 2 will be working with the old air units on the new firmware. I would be shocked if the old remote was working. I think that's going to be messy. I think what you'll have is when they upgrade the Vista to work with the new goggles, that will then take the remote too as well. But as for what's going to happen with the V1s, I'm going to be honest, and I may be wrong about this. I think this is going to be a one-way journey for V1 goggle owners, which means if you upgrade the air unit to work with the goggles 2, it won't work with the version 1 goggles. It may not even work with the goggles version 2 unless they port the mode over. As I've said, the thing to understand here is this isn't that they've brought the old mode into the goggles 2. This is more that they've sort of rewritten the old firmware and put O3 type firmware on the Vista or the air unit. So I really don't know. And I think you'll end up having a line in the sand. My personal opinion is this will be a line in the sand where you keep the Vistas on this firmware and they'll work with the goggles V1 and V2 on the old DIY mode. And you update them to the new firmware, which gives them support for the goggles 2. You'll gain MSP DisplayPort, but you will then lose backwards compatibility. That's how I think it's going to happen, but I could be wrong. That is not confirmed. That's just my opinion. What I don't see DJI doing is for 1 minute going back and rewriting the Goggles 1 firmware and Goggles 2 firmware to add in MSP DisplayPort for that other old system. I just don't see it happening. So I think that's where we're going to end up on that. But we're going to have to see. It's not confirmed. It's not confirmed. Okay, so just catching up on the chat a minute. Let me put the chat up on the screen. Let's put that up. Tango Courier, Padrina, doesn't it need to have 2.4 gigs? No, they could just limit the remote 2 to 5 gigs mode. It supports dual band, but technically they can limit it to 5 gigs mode. When the remote version 2 is working with the O3, it can be in 2.4 or 5 gigs. They could just say only go in 5 gigs. It's that simple. Lon asked a question. I did see it. About the heat levels on the O3 versus the other air units. I haven't done a full test on it yet. The O3 definitely gets hotter. They all get bloody hot. Let's not pretend they don't. They all do. The info I've seen so far shows the O3 going beyond what the others do, but I would have to do a static test. Now, that video I put out actually wasn't designed to be a negative. It's actually designed to be a positive. I don't know how many people have taken the positive from it because I didn't put any comments in it. I did that on purpose. I put that video out as a bit of a standalone one, and I did it on purpose. And the positive in this is, and let me just find it. The positive in that video, right, is that the air unit continued to work for over 5 minutes without cooling, without turning off. That is a positive. It kept going. Now, I wasn't expecting that. And here is an interesting comment to make, which I didn't make in that, actually. If you turn off low power mode, it will turn off in flight if you're not using the arming command. It's another quirk. So what I mean by that is this. If rather than you use arming command and you just turned off low power mode, it will run and it will turn off. But it appears it won't turn off if you have the arming command in. But it will turn off the second you disarm. The second you disarm, it goes down. Now, I could have left it longer, but I'll be honest, I didn't want to burn it out. I do think there is a risk to doing that. It smelt bad. Okay, like bad. It wasn't pretty. Do I think the OU3 unit? It gets incredibly hot, but it kept going. But I wouldn't recommend trying it yourself. Someone has asked, and I have seen this question, asked, how is it going to behave in a branch? I'd like to think your quad is disarmed. If you're in a branch, hopefully you've disarmed it. And if you're out of signal, it should... What does beta... Let me just think about this. I can't remember. What is Betaflight's natural status for arming when you're out of RC signal? Well, I know you've got the options of disarm or crash. Turtle mode will get you back power. Okay, that's fine. Always set failsafe to disarm. Yeah, you're probably going to want to. I need to double check that in Betaflight. I do need to check that. But as long as you've disarmed in a tree, you're going to be cutting the main power down. It's still going to get incredibly hot because it will still reach some crazy levels, but it should be fine. There should be no reason for problems. And what it will do, once you've disarmed... The question is, though, cut on failsafe. But is the cut on failsafe disarming? That's the question. What I can't remember is, does the cut on failsafe actually isn't disarm as default failsafe in behavior? It's just, you know what my question is it physically disarming? Is the main question, and it's something I will test. Ask me how I know. Peppermint. I need to check that. Yeah, I do need to check that. But I think it's going to be fine. But yeah, it lasted over 5 minutes, which is, look, this is incredible. It is absolutely incredible that it went that far. It really, really is. Let me just find the file. Why can't I see it there? O3 A unit overheat, 27th. Is this the right one? Trying to see. Nope, that's not the right one. I made a couple of versions of that video because I kept doing more and more testing and more and more testing and more testing until I got to the stage of where I was happy with it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Overheat Final version 2 desktop. And if you didn't see it, it's this one here. And just to show you, I also wanted to show this so you can see where the heat is. Have I reviewed the thermal camera? I haven't yet. That's going to be coming in the near future. That's on my list. I've been using it and testing it. What I wanted to show is where the bulk of the heat is. What's actually super interesting is the bulk of the heat isn't in the center. It's actually in the thicker metal areas of the casing on the edges. That's where the bulk of the temperature is. It was definitely at over 100. Put it that way. I was. This multimeter, by the way, is a thermocouple on the rear. Okay, so that's on the rear of the casing. It was taped to it with Captain tape on the rear of the air unit. How, where the accuracy differences are, like plus minus 10 degrees. I was getting 90, 100 degrees up here. But if you look around the back, you can see around the back of the air unit there. You can see that there is the thermocouple. So you can see around here, there's some heat around those areas there. Who's going to make a heatsink for the camera? Yeah, the camera is interesting, actually. Look at the camera. It doesn't get that hot, but just look at the color change. I put it in on purpose. And if you look at my teardown of the camera, the reason the back shell gets hot is because in the teardown, there's a thermal pad in the back of the camera. There's compound in a thermal pad area on the back of the camera. And it's transferring that heat. It's that square there. Can you see where that square is? That's where it is inside. But yeah, the colour of the camera getting hot is quite cool. You just see the colour change on the camera over time, look. And you actually see it stabilise. It gets hotter and then sort of stabilises. But yeah, definitely gets hot. Definitely gets hot. But yeah, I think what we've got to take into account is, you know, I stopped recording at 5 minutes because it started to smell really bad. And look, you could technically fly that for 5 minutes without any cooling. I wouldn't do it, but you could. I'd like to see iFlight sell their heatsink. I don't know if you guys seen this. I put it in my review. Let me just find the image to share with you. But it's a shame that iFlight haven't released their heatsink as a standalone option. Let me just find the image I shared of it. Now, this is what is in the... where is it? Where is it? It's here somewhere. It's on my phone, but I shared it the other day. Here's this image. Let me show you this. So this was off my Discord. Oh, there it is. Put that over to here. So this was my teardown of the Evoke. And iFlight have their own custom bottom casing with a heatsink built in. It's really well done. And I mean, it's really, really well done. I have to say, you know, it is an entire bottom shell. It is not stuck on. They have remachined the entire bottom shell. And actually, when you buy the Evoke, they give you that shell piece in the original bottom casing in the box with it. But yeah, it's an entire custom bottom shell. I did wonder if it was made by DJI because it is literally identical. It is literally identical to the DJI one. And I'm just wondering if it was made by DJI. It is on the bottom though, yes. But you could mount the ear unit upside down at that point. If you just put it in the frame, just mount it upside down. Be fine. But it is nicely done. I think they should sell that. The newer frame has holes. Yeah, you can see the hole down here. Have they changed it slightly again? The newer frame has more holes. What, they've increased holes around there, have they? So, yeah, it's nice to see. You know, that was the teardown of the Evoke. A lot of people asked me questions about this, actually. It's a nice time. So the Evoke has a anti-spark unit, and it's this unit you're seeing here, this little square box. Now, people have asked what it is, and my understanding is from iFlight that it's a MOSFET. It's a soft start MOSFET is what I understand. So they've got an extra power cable going to it. I haven't torn it down yet. I need to have a look at it. But people have been asking what it is, and I believe it's a MOSFET. Well, they called it a MOS tube, but it's a MOSFET. So they're using basically a soft start circuit. Now, the only concern with this is if that fails, it's going to cut all power to the quad. If it's doing what I think it's doing, they're running negative through the MOSFET. And that means if that fails, you're going to lose all power to the quad. But then again, if your FET fails on your ESC, you're going to lose power to the quad. So where do you draw the line? But interesting. Ken Dobo, if you're watching, I wonder. Just got me thinking. 5-inch. It is, where is it? She's here. If anyone hasn't seen it, there she is. Genuinely a fantastic quad. Genuinely a fantastic quad. It really, really is. They have those on HV systems for event arcing. They do. Yeah. So, the overhead, yeah, if you haven't seen it, it is genuinely just a hell of a piece of kit. It really, really is. Now, iFlight, here's something interesting. I don't know what the antennas are. I need to speak to iFlight and ask the question. Are these 2.4 or 5 gigs? Now, there has been a lot of questions on antennas, actually, for O3 about what antennas should I use. And I am going to be talking about this a lot more. Actually, just let me start that because, okay, let me just grab a goggles. I want to do it with a set of goggles. Now, there has been a lot of questions with regards to what antennas to use with the O3 on, say, the goggles version 2 or the goggles 2. Now, the O3 system is a dual band system, so it works on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. However, it isn't using 2.4 and 5 gigs all of the time, and it is dependent on your setup. For instance, when using O3 with the DJI FPV remote version 2, it will switch the goggles telemetry and or RC between the 2.4 and 5 gigs bands, depending on how it feels. Predominantly, when you set the system into manual mode with those two, it will stay on 5 gigs, but in auto, it will switch between the two, with the remote actually hovering on 2.4 most of the time. However, in all of my testing, when you're using O3 without the DJI remote controller, i.e. you're using your own remote system, I have never seen the goggles telemetry jump onto 2.4. It has always stayed on 5 gigs. That would imply that you are going to be best using 5 gig antennas on O3 if you're not using the DJI remote system. Even if you were using the DJI remote system, you could still use 5 gigs antennas only, but put it in manual mode. However, if you're using your own remote system, I'll be honest, I'll be using straight 5 gigs antennas. I see no reason at this moment in time not to. I've done a huge amount of testing on this and it remains the same. And in fact, I was even told by some of the DJI testers that they were using their straight setups on the V2s without bothering with dual bands, and it was absolutely fine. Now, we do need to do a bit more testing on this, but I would be honest, I would have no concerns about running 5 gig only antennas on this. And in fact, whilst I don't know what iFlight have put on here, I'm betting they're 5 gigs. My bet is that they're 5 gigs only. And actually, it makes a lot of sense that DJI have limited it to 5 gigs without the DJI RC, because it would cause problems with interference on other RC systems if this was jumping onto 2.4 gigs without the DJI RC. What they can assume is when using the DJI RC, it's fairly safe to go over to 2.4 gigs. Whilst it could interfere with other users, you'd be using a 2.4 gig system anyway. However, they're not going to put the goggles onto it or the ear unit. Well, the ear unit doesn't transmit, but the goggles onto it when not. And that seems to be where the logic is. So if you're using O3 with your own system, I'll be honest, I'd stick with 5 gigs antennas. It's as simple as that. So that is the situation with the antennas. It's a question I have seen come up. I'm going to clip that if you didn't notice. Okay, so catching up on the chat a minute. If you guys have any questions on that, please do let me know. Okay, Quad City Bay Area. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I need to catch up on this first. Right. Sorry, my friend. I've only now got to it. If you're still here, please do give me a shout out. Say hello. I have no Betaflight OSD on my Walksnail. Telemetry is good on the radio. Right. So, have you set it up as per the full process? Oh, you're still in, my friend. Sorry, I just didn't want you to think I'd missed the super chat. Okay, so have you set it up? Have you done the MSP configuration? And what I mean by that is this. Let me just find it. HD. I always go to the HD website, HDZero website to get it, but you could go to Walksnail. Let me just find it. Cadex FPV. MSP is enabled -1. So you've done this configuration. Let me just make sure that right. Support. Download center. Do you know I preferred the old Avatar website? It's a bit annoying. Avatar firmware, Walnut firmware. Ah, nice to see they've actually published it. Avatar quick start guide. Okay, so right. So we got here. Let me just go to this a sec. Right. So the important thing is this. You need to make sure MSP is on the UART you've got it connected to. So on the actual UART it's on. So if you're using UART 2, MSP needs to be on a UART 2. You also need OSD and telemetry to be enabled in Betaflight configuration. Then in the CLI, you need to do this. You need to set the OSD DisplayPort device to MSP and set the DisplayPort to serial, and the Y should be the number -1. And I think you said you've done this already. -1 means if your UART is 2, it should be 1. If your UART is 3, it should be 2, etc., etc. That should kick it all in. If that hasn't, and you have telemetry turned on in Betaflight and you have OSD turned on, let me just find a flight controller for those two, just to show you them. This one is configured, so this should work. I'll be upsetting Bardwell showing Betaflight content. Okay, configuration. Okay, so OSD needs to be turned on here. OSD. And over here, you need telemetry. Is it telemetry? I'm trying to find it. There used to be a telemetry option. Is it still here or is it gone? Oh, it's gone. I thought there was a telemetry option. I swear there was a telemetry option. You want soft serial, emote, OSD. OSD definitely needs to be on. But it looks like the telemetry option is vanished. Let me just scroll down. Yeah, it looks like it's gone. Oh, it's in the receiver tab as it moved. Sorry. Actually, telemetry doesn't need to be on. Look, I've got it turned off and it works on this. So I thought that had to be on. But just check. Okay. And as long as you've done all of those things, it should work. If it still doesn't work after that, right, it's one of two things. You've either got your TX and RX the wrong way round on the flight controller. Try swapping them over. If it still doesn't work, try a different UART, reconfigure from scratch again. I have experienced some UARTs just don't work. I don't know why. I still don't know why. I don't mean soft serial ones. Just some UARTs do not work. Try another one. If you've got a receiver on one, if you haven't got spares and you've got a receiver on one, swap it with a receiver on, reconfigure. For some reason, there is this random thing where one UART just won't work. It'll work for a receiver, but it won't work for this MSP. But make sure so. You've done the configuration, but if you do change UART, you need to reconfigure again. Could I look at your previous question? The entertaining Obsidian, where is it? Let me just have a look before we move on to the HDZero stuff. My GoPros is weird stuff at times, isn't it, Mad Manix? The entertaining Obsidian. I don't know where it is. It's, if you can repost it, you are furthest away works. Yeah, that's a point. What RC link am I planning to use on your Rover build? On the Rover, I've been using 900 megs. I go a lower frequency on the Rover. Crossfire has been one I have been using. Black Moses. Goggles 2 have more latency with the old Vista, right? How much more in comparison? It's tiny. I'm sorry. People are getting so hung up over it's so bloody small, it's not worth thinking about. 28 milliseconds versus 30 is the goggle difference. What we don't know is what it's like. Chris will have to do all of his testing again. There is so little between, in reality, DJI... Okay, so there's testing that has shown DJI down to as low as 21, 22, 23 milliseconds. That isn't the full latency. There is so little between Goggles 2 and V2, it's not worth thinking about. Okay, the Entertaining Obsidian, here you go. Is there a good way of potentially getting some sort of audio transmission with O3 and Goggles 2 setup? Using separate parts, wireless microphone, but I've not really seen any wireless mics with good range for this. It's not going to be easy. To be honest, there's no easy way of doing it. There just isn't. Someone in FPV needs to design a wireless mic and headphone setup. Like a live intercom for FPV. Someone needs to design one. So you just have a set of headphones that go in to a receiver with a recorder built in. Rush do cheap mic for the tanks. Do they? Does it record? Can you get video out to an iPad from the DJI system, 1 or 2? Yes, the O3 system will output to the DJI Fly app, which is iPad or Android. Put a V1 on top of the Vision 2. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, someone needs to do a proper... Someone needs to design a wireless mic, we need an open source wireless mic. Can we do this in Express ELRS? You here, Wes? I'm just going to turn my fire on. It's getting cold now, gents. I wonder if we can convert an ESP32. If you're going to get audio afterwards, just try and find a small audio recorder. There are lots of like mics out there that will record, wireless ones. These Rolos are tiny. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a small recordable mic. Tiny audio recorder. There's got to be a tiny sound recorder. Oh, look at this. Mini Spy voice activated recorder. Spy gadgets for you. These look fairly small. Ultra lightweight. Look at that. You could strap that on a quad. It weighs, what's 0.31 ounces? Can anyone tell me what that is in real? Yeah, it's not gas, it's electric, this one. What's 0.31 ounces in real money? Can someone tell me? So a small audio recorder. Eight or 9 grams. That's not going to do real-time audio though. That's going to do recording playback. For wireless, you're talking a long range. You're talking you're talking the wireless mic kits. There's lots out there. You've got like this. I've got these wireless ones. You could use these. This is wireless. These don't record on board, but you can get some that do. I don't know what the range is going to be like on one of these, though. Kerry Miller, what are my thoughts about the Mad Components 12S 4-in-1 ENC? I can't find anything about it. I've not heard of that one myself. Mad Components 12S. Not heard about it myself. Madmotor.com, I'm guessing it's these, is it? Here we go. They're nothing to do with me. 12S 4-in-1. So where's the 12S 4-in-1? Is it that one there? $149. Let's have a look over the board, shall we? Wow, okay. So it's got some decent ESCs. FETs. Look at the FETs on that. Let's open that image in a new tab. Cool, that's got big metal FETs. Look at them. That's the metal canned FETs, isn't it? Okay. Bottom board looks okay. Opening a new tab. Is there a better image than that? Is there a full-on square image? Come on. There's not a full-on square of the bottom of the board. Looks okay. Looks fine. You've got the drivers on the bottom. PCB looks thick. Very thick. That board looks thick. PCB. 4x4. 2x4 ounces. Wow, that's a thick board. Can't say anything bad about it. It looks okay at the moment. The corner posts look properly grounded. Let's have a look on the top side of the board, because we've seen some stupid stuff recently. Oh, no, 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 no. They haven't, have they? Really? Have they? Okay. That does look isolated. Okay, no, I think we're okay. Look, if you look at this corner pad, right? So what they've done is this. So if we look at the FETs, FET 1, FET 2, FET 3. So that's these motor outputs, right? FET 1, 2, 3 for the 1, 2, 3. Because it's going around the corner, it's going around the mounting post. However, it looks like that's isolated. You can see a blue area around this. So as long as that's isolated, we're fine. As long as they've done that, and that's that FET there, and that's that FET there. So what you've got is 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, that one's for these motor pads, that one's, and that one's for those motor pads. Caps down the middle, not as many as we could see. Can't see the cursor. 1 second. Mouse highlight. There we go. Can you see that? There you go. You can see that now. So it looks like they've isolated around that there. Okay. Overall, that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I think it looks all right. I can see no issues with it at all. What's the spec? Is there a back on board or not? So what's the output? Yeah, it looks okay. Yeah. This is by a company called Mad Components. Never heard of them. Nothing to do with me. There's always a compromise on a board like that. There always is. There always is. Is there a back? I can't see. No. No back. No back on him. $149, mind. That's an expensive one. Okay, guys, right. Before we move forward, I just want to say, if you found the video useful or interesting so far, please do give us a like. We've got 208 of you amazing people here. And we've got 62 likes. So please do consider giving me a like. I'm going to do a bit of the shilling time. I want to say a massive thank you before we move forward to all of my Patreons. The Patreons... It's been an interesting thing, actually. It's been growing massively, and I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting us on Patreon, especially through the whole O3 thing and the DJI thing and all of that. It really has shown how important it is, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting it. If you do want to support us, there's a link in the description. But really, it's just been amazing. It's been quite funny the last couple of weeks with the DJI thing as well, because if you saw Ross's interview, my name got mentioned there as well, which was quite funny. It's nice to hear someone from DJI who doesn't hate me. And Ferdy actually has offered to, he's more than happy to do an interview with me as well if I want one. I actually sent him an email. Seems a nice guy. And I'm not sure what I talk about. I think Chris covered a lot of stuff. I don't know if there's any point me doing an interview with DJI. Because what I'd ask them, they wouldn't want to answer. I'm not sure they'd want to answer the questions of, so, does the O3 ear unit have remote ID? Is it detectable by Aeroscope? Yeah, I don't think, no, I wouldn't put him in a difficult position. I'm not stupid. I just don't know what I can bring to the table on that. But I'm having a think about it. It would be a short meeting. Yeah, and no, Ferdy has been around a very long time. He's a nice guy. I've never dealt with him, but I've known him on and off around DJI, the name, for a long time. And some of what he was saying was super interested in what he was saying around the power output, but also the penetration behavior and stuff. And he's absolutely right. There are many areas that O3 just spanks everything else out the door. But it was a really good interview Chris Rosser did. If you haven't seen it, it's on his channel. I think, look, there are always things they're not going to answer. Okay, you have to understand. You know, I did my interview with Carl. Hey, Nick, how are you? Hope you're well, my friend. My interview with Carl was we I asked him beforehand about, this. If you remember my interview with Carl, we spoke even about the fat shark nonsense. And he was more than happy to discuss it. There was nothing off the table. Nothing off the table at all. The problem with DJI is, and this is what I'm about to say, is no comments against Ferdy, but it's like talking to an Apple representative. You're not getting to the person who makes the decisions. Talking to Ferdy is going to help him It's going to give him more info, and it's going to help him feed that back to DJI. But the decisions are made in China. And there is a reason, right? At times, I have been controversial in some of my comments around DJI. And that is because it gets a reaction in the right place. There is often cases with DJI that asking the reps will get you nowhere. And I don't mean that negatively towards any of the reps. They're all fine. They're great people. But their hands are tied. Sometimes you've got to do something that sets off a hand grenade in the office in China. And that is the way I've done things before. That's why I said don't buy the V2s. That's why I've said things in the past in a certain way. Now, that burns bridges, but it gets the job done. And if you take... take the goggles to backwards compatibility, I firmly believe the work that the community did, so my video alongside the posts online, alongside the poll on what's the platform called? I can't remember what it's called. Made a difference. Because with DJI, sometimes you've got to shake the tree. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it was me. It wasn't me. It's a combination of pressure in the right ways. Going to the reps and saying, we need this, that message will get watered down by the time it gets back to China. Okay, it won't be the same message by the time it gets there. Sometimes you've got to literally put a hand grenade through the window. And I know that works because the last time I really did it, I got sent a screenshot from China of my video with it converted from Chinese to English with the words where I said, don't buy DJI, buy HDZero. Let me just turn the fire back off. And that upset them. But that's sometimes what you got to do. So that's it. So, but yeah, I firmly believe the poll and everything made the difference getting V2 compatibility. So, okay, it's time to talk about some other stuff. Before I do, I'm going to do one last thing. How many of you lot... Here's a question. How many of you lot spotted my little dig in the videos that I put out over the O3 release to DJI? How many of you seen it? Let me just turn my mouse pointer off. Actually, let me just... I don't like this bloody pointer. Let me get rid of this. Let me just show you this a minute. I want to show you this because it's quite funny. And it was me having a poke. I don't know how many people saw this. But let me just... I need to go to my channel and the videos. Right, let's start down on this one. So we'll... Oh, no, not that one. What we're looking at is the hashtags, ladies and gents, okay? So O3, everything you need to know. Where's the hashtags? So that one's fine. That was the first video, so let me find it. So, the FCC hacks. That's not on the FCC one. Which ones did I put it on? Where is it? Oh, this one. What goggles are compatible? That's interesting. What's it done? Have YouTube changed it? Is it taking my hashtags off? It might have. Cable going. It has. No, it didn't say Avatar. It said fuck HDJI is what it said. What it said was literally FCK DJI. That's what it said. And it was in all of my hashtags. Oh, did I go in and take them out? Perhaps I went in and took them out. I might have done it. I think I took them out. I did have an image of them, but yeah, it was basically FCK DJI in all of my videos for the main hashtag. I did it on purpose, just as a bit of hiya. But no, anyway, it's time to talk about some other stuff. Okay. Right, before we get into HDZero, let's quickly talk about Walksnail, because this is quick, easy news. So, Walksnail have new firmware. Yes, there is new firmware for the Walksnail system. Yes, there are other digital systems on the market other than DJI. Who would have thought? Nice to see. Okay, I haven't updated this yet. I haven't had time. That's my job this week. The new beta firmware, version 29.33.12, adds goggles, FC OSD playback function, camera settings and power settings finally saved in the VTX. Yes, I need to check this. And they've optimized RF performance of low signal. Interesting. Need to have a look at that one for sure. Oh, it's still there, is it? Okay. But yeah, we got this new firmware from Walksnail. Now, the interesting thing with it is it isn't doing what DJI are doing. They're basically recording on the goggles an SRT file with all of the OSD data in. It's not SRT, it's another file, but they're not recording the OSD data on the video image. They're basically stripping off the OSD data into a file. And what that means is you can play back on the goggles and see it all, but for editing later, things are going to be a little bit more complicated. Things aren't going to be quite the same. I can't decide if it's a better way of doing it or not, actually, compared to DJI. So DJI on the O3 system, you can choose if you want to record the OSD overlay or not, and that's burnt on the video recording. In many ways, not burning it on is better because it gives you more options, but it's going to be more difficult to give that OSD look until someone makes a piece of software that does it. And what was interesting was Cadix sort of said they expect someone to make some software soon that supports it. But it's out. I haven't tested it. I'm going to be looking at it myself. JB showed an interesting video with this the other day, actually, showing you patch antennas with Walksnail. And, you know, making sure you're not using all patches. And that was actually a very good video. JB did something on that I wish I'd have done in one of my videos, which was the torch effect. A fantastic way of demonstrating RF behavior of an antenna. People often think an antenna improves signal. It doesn't. An antenna captures signal. And what a directional antenna does, captures signal better in a more focused way. But yeah, it was a very good way of demonstrating the torchlight. I wish I'd have shown that in my video on antennas. I was a bit jealous of that when I saw it. But yeah, so the new Avatar firmware is out. I haven't tried it. I need to go test it. The system is rocking forward. It's, you know, it's hard to say bad things about it. It's still rocking forward. It's out of beta as far as I'm personally concerned now. Although there is still no FCC filings for the whole system, still no CE filings for the whole system. Fully released. I need to reach out to Cadix because I thought they were going to send me a VRX module, but I haven't heard from them. No, I don't think they have yet. I believe I'm getting one sent to me, but I haven't heard anything. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so we've got the new update from them. Like, nothing spectacular. Everything's ticking along nicely. They do have as well a new 1S VTX. I knew about that as well. They've made it slightly smaller. They've optimized the design of the 1S. Overall performance is the same. It's just they've optimized it slightly. Got the size of the boards down as well to 30 by 30 now, I think. Slightly updated version. Not dramatically different, but it's still enough that it does help a little bit. Where is it? Someone here saying he's got 2 dead Whoop VTXs. Bit concerning. Just to show you this. The 1S VTX are more like one-use VTX. I'm FPV long enough to know the horror of first-generation Happy Model AIOs. Those are more reliable. Ugh. Not good. So he's had, what's he saying? Let's just read the post. I've now said the durability of the VTX is total crap. 2 dead VTXs with a combined 50 flights. The first one died after I crashed into concrete. This is digital. I was surprised it died so quickly, given the quad was totally intact. Built a new whoop with the second one. In preparation for DigiRoot race next week, the concerns of durability in mind, I put 2 caps on the quad, one on the VCC, one on the 6.3 volt UF 5 volt rail. Clipped some ear gates, dead VTX. I wonder what he's done to kill both. I wonder why they're wiping out. I'd love to see one. If anyone kills a 1S, can you reach out to me? I want to see it. It looks okay. Not seeing anything there. Interesting. I would love to see one. I would love to see one. I suspect it's power circuit. I'll be honest. Input failure. I have seen that chipset fail, that regulator chipset. If you get spikes in the system, it will wipe it out. But if anyone does get one dead, can you let me know? I'd love to get my hands on it. Voltage spike sensitive. Yeah, the problem is you can't really run a TBS diode. You can run a TBS diode, but you'd have to get a very specific one. I do believe they're going to send me one, but I'd like to see a failed one as well, just to have a look at what's died. We're going to have to keep seeing what the reliability is like. And look, it's not fair to jump up on them, down on them instantly on it, in the sense of if they're replacing them, good. HDZero suffered some early failures. Okay, DJI didn't, but DJI have got a huge resources behind them. You know, the Whoop VTX is particularly delicate. I'm not going to pretend. That's why I've got about 12 of them here dead. You know, digital comes with some challenges, and they're going to face it as well. But, yeah, so it's interesting to see. Okay. It's time to talk about HDZero, because the next few weeks are going to be extremely exciting. And whilst, yes, there's been a huge amount of talk about DJI on the channel over the last few weeks, that is going to be swinging away, and that's going to be swinging into HDZero, because obviously we have the launch of the HDZero goggles. But for me, this is more than just the launch of a goggle. This is a reset of the HDZero system, because not only now will we have the options for VRX, for the Scouts, but we've now got this HDZero goggle, and this really finishes off the system, because it really puts it into the same situation as everyone else. DJI, Avatar, and now HDZero having their own goggle, which allows you to have that, you know, best-in-class experience from the manufacturer. And that is what the HDZero goggle is going to deliver. And I'm really looking forward to that. Now, Ryan has been putting some posts around. There's been posts, obviously, from Carl showing the boxes, showing them getting ready for packaging. They were delayed a little bit. We've had the packaging on the website. So if I go to here, we've got the main box here. We've had some unboxing stuff. We've had pictures from Carl saying that they're nearly ready. Where is it the other day? He put a post up, did Carl, the other day on here. Let me just go from Carl. All of Carl's posts. Let's see. I saw a boxing up pic from Carl the other day, but I can't remember where I seen it. But the big one is Ryan is stealing all of our thunder, Ryan. Yeah, first to the door, Ryan. Early doors, bloody people with their early access. Absolutely shocking behaviour. No. Ryan has given us a first look at the goggles. Now, I want to stress something, and Ryan stresses it, but I'm going to stress it as well. The goggles he's showing you are the pre-production, but production, but early mold samples. So there are some marks on the molds. That's not how they're going to be. He does say it, but I've seen some comments around here and there. That is not how they're going to be. That is just because what they've done is gone. We're going to give Ryan the crap because he doesn't need the good one. We're going to give him the one that doesn't look right. He's not important. We'll give him that one. No, look, Ryan's got an early sample. That's the reality. And he gives us, the box looks, do you know what? The packaging. So let me get full screen here. And I'm not going to go over the whole video. Every time I pause Ryan, he looks sinister. I don't know what it is. He looks like he's coming after me. Probably is. But anyway, look, here's the goggles. Now, this box reminds me, it looks like Apple-y a little bit, quite Apple looking. Somewhat DJI, somewhat Apple looking. But it looks good. Look, I like packaging. We all like packaging. But no, look, there we go. Overall looks nice inside. And if you want to watch it, go watch Ryan's full video. I love the quick sheet that they've included as well. Looks good. But where are we? There we go. Ryan's got the goggles out there. Now, again, these are an early sample. Box also looks like iFlight stuff. It does. Nice large foam, face mask. All looks good. You know, all looks nice. The colours of Ryan's ones are off a little bit because they're not the final sample. But look, we're going to get people getting them. I'm sure someone else has posted they've had theirs already. I'm sure someone has. I tell you what, this area looks really nice. I do like how all of that looks as well. Yeah, they look good. They look good. Yeah, they do look nice. And I'm not going to go over the whole thing. If you want to see it, go check out Ryan's video. He goes over the whole thing. We've got the analog bay on the side. Look at this. Look at the analog bay. I know some people are going to complain about that, but I think that's good. That's no problem at all. Ryan shows it going in. There we go with the connectors. Nicely done. All looks good. So yeah, overall, nice little HDZero bag as well. I'll be liking that. I could do with about 5 of them bags. I'll put all my goggles in them. Is it fair-lined? Ryan, is the bag fair-lined? I'll be a happy man if it is. But yeah, the goggles look nice. They look nice. They really, really do. Nice big buckle strap on the side as well. There we go. There's the strap. Yeah, look at that. Probably need about 3 or 4 of them. Fur-lined. Nice. Yeah, every time I pause Ryan in a video, it looks like he's upset with me. But no. So, Ryan's video is out there. If you want, I want you to go watch it. Please do give Ryan the love. His channel is there. Ryan, I'm never 100% how to pronounce his. I think it's Quillette is how I believe it's pronounced. Please tell me if I've got it wrong, Ryan. But yeah, please do. I'll check out the super chat in a minute. 2 seconds, guys. Please do check out his channel. Really worth a look. I am super looking forward to these goggles because for me, it's a reset. This is not just about a set of goggles. This is now about a system. Just like all the other systems, a system that will offer a set of goggles, a goggles module. You have multiple different VTXs. We've got the 1S. We've got the Whoop. Well, we've got multiple different VTXs. You know, HDZero has more options than anyone else today. Period. Yes, Avatar has a 1S. They've got one 1S. HDZero has got the new Whoop Light VTX, the race VTX, they've got the freestyle VTX, they've got all of this. There's a huge amount. Yes, there is a card slot. And this is shocking, actually. I'm going to make a complaint about this SD card. I need to talk about this. I am completely disappointed that HDZero have decided to put the SD card slot in not only an accessible and easy to reach place, but a logical place where any normal person would consider putting an SD card. I think it is disgusting behavior that they put this SD card in an area that you can simply and easily get to it. But not only that, when ejecting the SD card, it doesn't launch itself across the room. You can simply have it release itself nicely into your fingers. I am disgusted with this behavior, and frankly, I'm disappointed that they didn't do what any normal person would do, is place it between the eye area, where not only do you need the fingers of a 2-year-old, but also when it does release with a set of tweezers, it ejects it across the room where you spend 20 minutes trying to find it. It's disgusting. It really is. Anywho. Okay. Coming soon. I'm looking forward to them. Sorry about the rant. I am really looking forward to them, but it's more than a goggle. It's going to restart the system. And I am super excited. I need to order an analog module because I've only got the what have I got at the moment? I've only got the Sky Zone one, which won't work in it. I don't think it'll work in it. It's not going to be controllable because there's no screen. But I need to order a module. Has anyone seen the price of a rapid fire recently? I think I've done this before on a stream. It is shocking. But yeah, I need to order some stuff. It's just, yeah, I need to order. I was going to order a rapid fire, but I'm not at that price. Ryan, is there an issue with the TBS module? Just so I know. I'm assuming there isn't, but I will ask just in case, because I know it's a bit fatter, isn't it? I'm assuming the TBS module will go. Fusion. TBS Fusion. Yeah, I'll have to pick up a Fusion. I was looking the other day and it was just like, oh my God, have you seen the price of the modules? Okay, guys, so the HDZero, it's coming soon. Really excited about it. I'm going to be talking about it. You're going to hear a lot about it, but it's not just going to be about this is a set of goggles. What we have to now do is go back and look at the whole thing. There's a lot to talk about with HDZero. It's not just about these goggles. It's about where the system is at today. When? As soon as I can, I will. It's as simple as that. I don't have them today. So, but hopefully I'll get my hands on them soon. But yeah, really, really pumped for these. And look, as much as O3 has taken the limelight for a minute, HDZero did. There was a point where I was pumping out like 6, 7, 8 HDZero videos. And the reason is O3 is a new system. There's a lot to learn on O3. You know, we've had to relearn everything from scratch. And that's why there's been a rapid sort of gunfire of content. But trust me, the HDZero is not far behind. And it's going to start getting interesting now when we start looking at the differences between the system. What it is a fantastic time for FPV. And look, there's nothing here DJI have done that really affects HDZero. O3, and I might upset some of them in this, overall, O3 is probably the best FPV system for the general user. Okay? I know some of the HDZero people won't like that, but I'm sorry. But overall, weighing up everything, if one area specifically isn't important to you, you know, if you want the best image quality, you choose DJI, but if you wanted the best latency, you choose HDZero. If none of it really mattered to you, then sort of on balance, the O3 Air unit is very, very good. However, HDZero very much has its own world, and it doesn't strictly compete with DJI. It's a different world. The real problem DJI bring is for Avatar, because they're in their wheelhouse. You know, HDZero has a very simple USP: latency. Integrated latency, partly open source, huge development, lots of interesting stuff. You know, you've got VTX backpack support. You've got all this other stuff with the community. HDZero does all of that. DJI doesn't. Avatar's trying, but the real push that DJI hurt, and the company, is Avatar. Let's make no bones about it. It's directly comparable. Whereas HDZero, nothing's changed for HDZero. DJI have stepped forward in image quality. It is without doubt, it's stepped forward. It's an Avatar DIY. Sorry, it's an Avatar DIY. Avatar DIY. That's it. That's simple. It's great. It really is freaking great. It just is great. It's bloody fantastic, is what O3 is. And I haven't reviewed O3 yet. There's a reason I haven't reviewed O3 yet, because I need time on it. It genuinely is bloody fantastic. But it's not perfect. And the part that's not perfect actually isn't the ear unit. It's the goggles. The goggles actually are what let O3 down in many ways. And all of the bloody ups and downs of DJI. HDZero has its own unique selling points. It has its own benefits. It has its own world. The real tough move forward here is for Avatar, because, you know, Avatar released with MSP DisplayPort. You know, it's like DJI, but with MSP DisplayPort. Everyone was raging. Yeah, we got it. And then the hacking guys, the FPV WTF group, released OSD for DJI. And that then sort of went, ooh, it makes Avatar less interesting instantly. However, they're working with the community. They're doing interesting stuff. One SVTX, it's interesting. However, now DJI have pushed things forward again. We've now got proper DJI image quality. You know, DJI camera drone image quality. We've got O3, amazing penetration. We don't know the range yet, but the performance is fantastic. So where does Avatar stand today? What is the genuine reason right now? And this is the part that's going to be hard. What is the main reason to choose Avatar over DJI O3? Really? It's probably the One SVTX is the only one I could think of. Genuinely, that's it. You know, look, DJI have given backwards compatibility on O3 with the V2s. You know, there's a lot to like in O3. There is a lot to like. HDZero, still ticking along. Lots of great stuff coming, and that's the real good thing. The goggles are going to do that. The goggles are going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to wrap up on the super chats. Quad City Bay Area, $2. I'm not a fan of the rainbow screens, though. I'm not sure what that was related to. If you're still there, let me know. Sean Williams, hello, my friend. Sup, mad? New to your Discord, loving the community. Late to the stream, we'll play back, I think you said, discussion on 5-inch frames for O3. Yeah, they're all coming out. It's a hard one to discuss. iFlight have got a bunch. Everyone's releasing frames for O3. Chris Ross's are some of the best out there. If you're interested in getting a good frame, get Chris Ross's. I genuinely like Chris Ross's or the iFlights. They're two very different frames. I'll show this quickly. So, if you're going for the iFlights, HDZero breakup, sorry. Yeah, they have different performance. Look, the big difference between these two frames is basically width. Someone's asked as well, before I just show this, range test on DJI FPV O3. Wes is saddling up as we speak. It's coming. The big difference between these two frames, these are both fantastic frames, right? So this is obviously the iFlight, this is the Orqa. The big one is the width. It's the space. You know, you're only getting a 20 by 20 in here. You're not getting anything bigger in this frame. Chris's frame is much wider. AOS version 2, but he has the O3 edition now. I'm going to convert this to O3. I just need to get the new front plates. But yeah, you know, they're very different frames with width of space. You know, this frame is tight. Tight. You got a lot more space here. 20 by 20 only. You can go 20 or 30 by 30 on Ross's frame. But there are lots of other ones hitting the market. Everyone will have it. I'll be honest, these are my two favorite frames. I do like, I tell you a frame I really like and always have. Let me just grab it. The Speedy Bee frame. This frame has been fantastic. The Speedy Bee frame, although it is still a little tight. For those who haven't seen, this is the F. It's hard to get. You can't always get it either. But the Speedy Bee frame, nice and solid. Plenty of space at the back. Full-size air unit in this one. Yeah, decent frame, this. Really decent frame. I never had a complaint. You'd easily get O3 in the back of this as well. You just have to mount it a bit differently, but it is narrow again. It's, yeah, you know, another good frame. Okay, guys. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. AOS 7 is a big fat... I got the 6 back there. The bot grinder frame looks nice. I haven't seen it myself yet. I'd like to see Ross's frame. I haven't seen his LR5 long range. They are nice. The Demibot. I haven't seen the Demibot myself yet. It looks a monster. I haven't seen it for myself. I would like to see it. Edge of the screen being blurry because of the size of the lens. Yes. If you watch my video on the goggles too, yes. I cannot get it corner to corner clear. But I don't worry about it. It's not end of the world. It's actually worse on the Avatar than it is on FPV, because on the Avatar, you've got the sort of DJI menu and OSD elements out at the sides, whereas on normal DIY FPV, you can just bring it all in and it's much less of a problem. Basically, that's what I found. We'll have to see how it all is with the Betaflight upcoming HD OSD and stuff. What's the height on the iFlight O3 heat sink, or did you put it all back together? I haven't mentioned it. I think it was 8 mil. I will check that and I will confirm. Analog module or feed into goggles too somehow? No, there is no analog in. Can we use an analog module or analog feed into goggles too somehow? No. Absolutely not, unfortunately. So no. You want the HDZero goggles if you want analog. Right, guys, we've gone over 2 hours. There's over 250 of you amazing people here. Now, we're just under the 100 likes. So before I finish this up, I'm going to ask you to give the stream a like. I want to say a massive thank you for spending Sunday night with me. If you have found the stream useful, please do consider checking out the links in the description to buy me a coffee or Patreon if you'd like to support us. Please do also check out the link to my Discord server as well. It's been growing. It surprised me, actually. But yeah, if you're not on there, come over, say hi. I'll try and answer any questions I can. I'm on there when I can. I try to spend as much time as I can there, obviously outside of other duties. But yeah, come over, say hi. If you've got any questions, pop along. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's donated super chats tonight as well. I'm going to be turning on channel membership very soon. And I don't really know what benefit it's going to bring. I haven't worked that out yet. But someone has suggested I do it. If people want to use channel membership, I'm going to turn that on as well. We'll see. It's another option for people to support the channel if they want to. Anyway, that's it for me. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. I'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Never know. Maybe some HDZero goggles in my hand. We'll have to wait and see. Anyways, Speak to you guys soon. Let me find the end button. There's no nice way to end a bloody live stream. There really isn't. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Button 1. Stay safe. I'll speak to you soon.